Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lauren Dunford, CEO of Guidewheel. Thank you for joining for today's FactoryOps for the Future session. I am absolutely thrilled today to be joined by Julie Zorb, Senior Director of Sourcing Innovation for Walmart. Julie leads sourcing innovation, surety, and supply strategy, and brings a unique and fascinating perspective on how large organizations like Walmart are investing in innovation to strengthen their manufacturing. Julie, if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick intro to you and your role.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Lauren. I'm so excited to be here, and I hope I can live up to the fascinating tag. But the work we do is pretty interesting, so it does most of that work for me. But quick background on me before we dive into really what my current team does and focuses on. I am a recovering nonprofit lobbyist turned retail strategist and have been with Walmart for 7 years now. I have had the privilege of wearing a number of different hats for the company at that time, mostly in our US merchandising and e-commerce businesses. So think everything from running Black Friday men's underwear sales to helping parents shop faster for back to school through digital school supply lists. It's been a blast to figure out how to solve some of our customers' challenges in totally different ways in those roles. But now I love what I'm doing. My surety of supply strategic initiatives team gets to really take a global perspective. So we sit in Walmart International and we obsess over figuring out where Walmart has the biggest potential vulnerabilities in our supply chain. Where could we have the biggest risk of disruption in our ability to get the products on the shelf, digital or physical, that our customer wants to buy? And so we focus on prioritizing those risks and then bringing what we'll call non-traditional levers to help solve them. And so I'm excited to be here and explain a lot more about how we think about sourcing innovation as one of those non-traditional levers to help us change the game and mitigate those risks in the supply chain.
Oh, incredible, and so useful for folks listening too to hear how you think about this. Quick notes for everyone listening: you'll receive a recording afterwards. Feel free to use the chat to share thoughts, share questions throughout the session. Actually, sorry, no, share the questions in the Q&A. So chat for thoughts, questions in Q&A. Give a thumbs up if you'd like me to prioritize, and the goal is that this will be an engaging and fun discussion. I think we will have no problems with that. And with that, Julie, you alluded to it already, but can you share with me more about what the heck sourcing innovation is?
Yes. Great question, because it could mean a lot of different things, right? And so the way that we think about sourcing innovation at Walmart, it's one of those non-traditional levers that can help make our supply chain more resilient, right? So we are fundamentally looking for technology or innovation that changes the game in terms of how the products that we sell are made, right? How can we produce goods and get them on the shelf in a more efficient way? Now, our team, it's a blast. We get to look across the entire business portfolio for Walmart. So we are looking from bananas to toys to t-shirts and thinking about how we can produce those better, right? And so the solutions that apply to make those areas more efficient can look everything from new automated manufacturing processes, near and dear to this group's heart. Think automated textile weaving machinery. It could look like artificial or alternative ingredients and materials that even go into that manufacturing process to begin with. Think of dyes for textiles made out of agricultural waste. And it might look as simple as software platforms, right? Think weather mapping that helps us predict climate disruptions for all of the inputs to the products that we sell that are grown. And so my team specializes, we're obviously generalists when you think about how broad that portfolio is, but what we specialize in is finding and facilitating partnerships with early stage companies that have those emerging technologies, right? And so we are working with those solutions and trying to find ways that we can actually implement them within the Walmart ecosystem, which might mean that we directly partner with them and test them in our own facility. It might mean that we test them in partnership with one of our suppliers, because what they do actually goes into the way a product is made and it would best fit at a supplier. Or it might even mean we've done this before to partner with an academic institution and help rigorously evaluate some of the science behind the technology or the innovation that the company is bringing. So we bring a lot of different models across a pretty broad portfolio to try to find those best solutions to make us more efficient.
Yeah. Oh, cool job. That's really awesome.
Really fun.
I know it's a time when lots of things are changing. Can you think of any things that you want to share with this group around supply chain challenges you're solving through sourcing innovation right now?
Yeah. So it's great, right? I just covered we've got this potential massive breadth of scope. We could do, I say this to my team a lot, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So we have to pick where we focus, right? And so let me talk you through a little bit of like how we think about that. And so we're always open to emerging opportunities, right? We are, sorry, my screen has gone a little wonky. Can you all still see me?
Yes, but I saw a big question pop up. Great
Okay.
question. We'll see if we can get to it later.
Okay, perfect. I won't be thrown by that when the next question comes up. Perfect. So how we prioritize or how we think about where we're going to go solve, we've got a couple of big problem spaces that we're focused on that we see as the best area for us to drive kind of efficiency and innovation into our sourcing operations. And so one of them is yield forecasting and improvement. Think of applying that to any products or inputs that we grow. One is definitely advanced manufacturing processes. Got a lot of work, particularly in textiles that I've mentioned, but other places too, right? We want those processes to be as automated, efficient as possible. Shelf life measurement and extension, again, in some of our perishable items, think about where we have those biggest vulnerabilities where things can go wrong as we're trying to get them to our customers. And then the last is this alternative ingredients and materials space. And it's a really interesting one for us to dive in on of where can we change the game in terms of what we make our stuff out of? Where can we use different inputs that are fundamentally less vulnerable to supply shocks or less volatile in price or less resource intensive inherently, and challenging some of those assumptions. So those are still pretty broad, right? And so from there, we still have to focus even further. And this is where we bring some of the other parts of my team get to play in, and we overlay that supply risk analysis where we're thinking about which categories are most vulnerable and most important to our customers. And so then we have another lens of kind of cutting down those problem statements to something much more specific, like how might we better anticipate seasonality shift in grapes growing regions from one region to the next, right? And from there, we work to find the right solution, build it out in a way that fits within Walmart, within our ways of working, and figure out if that is sustainable and durable to scale.
Wow, moving pieces. You just described how you prioritize the different challenges, the different kinds of things you're thinking about. You also have to somehow find the innovations that will make sense to attack those challenges. How the heck do you, as one of the biggest companies in the world, go about finding those innovations?
This is probably the most fun part, right? We definitely have an always on intake mindset, right? And as much as we focus and try to have that top down, really focus on problems, we also have an always on mindset to say great ideas come from everywhere and we're always listening. And so we're always talking with whether it's relevant VC funds to help surface new things, or truly as our executives are out in the world meeting fascinating people. And I think firsthand how well that can work to match make and find people. But in other cases, we're really intentional. What's fun is we get to be really intentional about finding innovators in the different retail markets where Walmart operates across the globe. And so one of the ways that we do this is by being a part of a series of events that we call growth summits. And we hold these primarily for finding finished goods suppliers, local companies that have product that can go on the shelf in each of our markets, and giving them an opportunity to pitch to our merchants. But what our sourcing innovation team does is we go alongside and host a pitch day for companies that are also based in that market. And they might not have a finished good that's ready to go on the shelf, but they've got another idea or breakthrough that we should be thinking about and figuring out how to incorporate into our business. And so we do this in at least one market every year. In 2024, we were in India. Earlier this spring, we were in South Africa, where Walmart operates Massmart. And then every year we're in the US looking for ideas through our open call event, and truly learn, like, some of our best projects have come from these. And it's a great testament to, like, great ideas come from everywhere. We're still working with whether it's alternative dyes and crop insight providers that we met in India. We're actively developing a few things that we met from people in South Africa this spring. And we definitely have ongoing projects from open call, whether it's those climate disruption models or alternative plastics. There's a lot of great innovation that we found at these events. So really excited to keep those going.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And just having attended some of your events, they're so well thought through and done as well. Anything you're particularly focused on right now?
Yeah. Super top of mind, building on those events is truly our next upcoming pitch day is going to be at the open call event for Walmart this fall. And it's our 12th annual US Open Call event, and it's the 40th anniversary of Sam Walton making a big commitment to Walmart sourcing made in the USA goods. And so this year we've done this for 12 years and innovation has been a part of it before, but it's really apparent to us this year, and we're leaning in on the messaging that it is hard to make some types of products here in the US. And to be able to do that in a way that is efficient and cost effective, we need some new technology to break through and change the game in some of those spaces. And so we put out a very open call to US based innovators as well. And we are today really finalizing our invite list. We've got kind of 14 great companies that we're excited to have come out and talk with us. And it's a great opportunity, right? They come to our campus here in Bentonville. They get to be in a room full of Walmart decision makers who are industry experts in the areas that they're working in and get the feedback of, is this viable? What would we change? What do we think our customers would think about it? And some of that expertise of what could it look like to pilot their technology with Walmart at scale. And it's the way that we find some of the best innovations. We've got people coming in kind of all of those categories that I mentioned, from advanced manufacturing, some robotics that could retrofit machinery. We have improved yield ideas that help soil health. We have alternative ingredients and materials that really change truly the fabric, the breakdown of what we're making, and do it in usually a more sustainable or regenerative way, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Very cool. I can only imagine as you find innovations, move them along in your process, see some of them come to fruition. What examples have you seen of either how those processes are working really well, how those innovations have a lot of upside, or challenges that you faced along the way in the work that others might learn from?
Yeah, I think one of the things, the thing that works the best is just there are super smart, dedicated people on every side of these projects, whether it's at the innovators, the startups, whether it's our supplier partners who come with us on this, or the broad set of internal Walmart teams that need to touch these projects, is the best part of working through that. Now, you heard the number of stakeholders that I just mentioned, which leads me to the challenges. These are complicated projects to get off the ground in a lot of ways, right? It's a degree of magic needs to happen in terms of having the right application, the right partners at the right time. And it can take time to do it in the right way to get off the ground. And so it requires a lot of patience to do these projects, and a lot of good buy-in from, it's usually a multi-party stakeholder event as we get some of these things to test and come to fruition.
Yeah, completely. And you, of course, I'm sure are hot in demand for every innovator that wants to pilot and seize the Walmart scale. When you evaluate potential partners, potential new tech, do you have a go, no-go checklist for what's actually going to be worth piloting, what's not, or how do you think about what's worth the time and focus on overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I mean, in many instances, the legal answer, it depends, applies here in terms of each of these is pretty specific. And so again, as we narrow down that problem set, we're going to have a really specific set of criteria when we say, like, this is the right solution to test for this problem. But one of the things that we've seen consistently across different projects that can be a really strong indicator of, is this going to be a good fit for us to work with another company or a startup, is their appetite to democratize their solutions, right? What's great, like my team is built to work with early stage companies that do not need to be at cost parity yet, but we really look for partners that share the vision of making their solution democratic, right? They want to scale because yes, like we are built to help start small in the Walmart ecosystem, but let's face it, like we have the ambition, the goal is to do something eventually at scale and end big. And so yes, we can do that by helping analyze, a company's cost curve projections or those kinds of things. But to be honest, it really usually comes through in some of the human level and interaction, right? You can tell with the company's leaders and teams, are they humble? Are they mission driven? And that helps us get a good sense of, are they going to stick with us through some of those ups and downs of the complicated project journey to get us to the end, and keep working through some of those challenges. And so that to me is kind of the biggest litmus test that we can usually tell off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've just been also so impressed. That mission just comes through from everyone within Walmart that I've interacted with so strongly. You, as you mentioned, have to engage lots of different stakeholders.
Yeah.
And of course, we're thinking with teams all day, every day about getting buy-in and helping get the appetite to try new things. Any tips or things that you found that consistently helps you get buy-in, either from frontline teams or from suppliers to test out new things?
Yeah. I mean, the good part is we're usually the fun part of people's days, to try something new. And so we usually find a lot of willingness to take some of these things on as an above and beyond. And it's part of that, just bringing people some inspiration out of their day job of the art of the possible, and a willingness to question things. And so we found great success, whether it's like engaging really broad parts of the Walmart team. Some of our quality associates based in India have really taken the mantle of some of our innovative dyeing projects, and are leading those, which is fantastic. And suppliers, we've got a great mango partner in Peru that tested something totally new for us and is taking pictures for us every day. And so giving them some of that buy-in and being clear about why we're doing this, what the value would be at the end of the day, and truly being interested in what they're doing and learning from their direct experience has been super helpful. And so, yeah, it's making it real for them, making it fun, being clear that there's a vision to scale this beyond, and they are the proving ground for something that could be so much bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Any tips you found for ways to support teams that might be skeptical or overwhelmed? I know you also want to move fast. How do you support those teams without slowing things down?
Yeah, we already mentioned emphasizing for my team that we can't do everything, but we can do anything is a good one. The other one that I say a lot in these projects as they get really long term is having a progress over perfection mindset. And what that ends up looking like, right, is finding the next best thing to do. I feel like I'm probably quoting Frozen of like just the next right thing. Anyway, right, it can be really ambiguous of how do we jump from the small scale pilot to a big scale impact, and figuring out that middle is really overwhelming. But finding the next thing, who's the next conversation that we should have? Who's the next person that should get looped in here, or the next piece of analysis? We don't need to know the whole thing at once. But as we build some of these new muscles, it's okay that we don't have the full picture, as long as we keep chipping away and keep making progress towards that next piece.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to take some of those quotes as well. Good reminders. Well, I just want to say on a personal level, every interaction with the Walmart team at every level, I have been so impressed. You are the biggest company in the world, and you are eager to figure out how to work with growing companies, how to innovate, how to pull in new and interesting innovations from different places. It's really impressive to be able to see that culture come through so strongly. Any thoughts you want to add on that from Walmart's perspective? How the heck has that been able to happen?
Yeah, I think you're right. It really so much starts and ends with the mission here of save money, live better, and the perspective that we get to take on that. And it's why I'm still at the company, right? Like why I came here and why I'm here and excited every day, is that is a part of our ethos, and it's not just short term, it's really long term, right? And when we think about these surety of supply mindsets and where we're going to have supply gaps, we're not thinking just about tomorrow. We're thinking about next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. As ecosystems change, how are we going to be able to continue to provide for the customer? Because Walmart, someone will fact check me on this, we're over 60 years old now. We want to be here for another 60 years. And that requires a long-term mindset. But it means in some of these things that we end up we are trying to build for the long term, right? And so the journey itself is as important in many cases on these projects as the outcome, because the muscle that we build of learning how to do this, right? Whether think about the supplier that we were working with to test that new garment dye, right? Or a new formulation in a recipe, we build the muscle of how we do that and we can start to repeat it faster. And so a lot of these things are hard the first time, but it's worth going through the hard process to learn how to do it the right way with all of the steps of rigor, because it means that we can go fast later. So it's the go slow to go fast, because we know that the goal at Walmart is operating at our global scale, and it's worth the hard, slow work to get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have tons of questions flooding in, which is great. So I'll ask a few more and then start pulling from those. I know we just have 10 more minutes. I do want to ask a little bit about, Walmart's relationship with Guidewheel. I know you weren't a direct part of the initial origin story, but can you share a little bit about that partnership and how we got to where we are today?
Yeah, and I alluded to it earlier, but and you'll have to fact check me on the details of the true origin story, Lauren. But I believe it went about like this: that you met Doug McMillan, our global CEO, and Kath McClay, our international CEO, at Davos one year. And I can just imagine, again, you can fact check me on this, their eyes lighting up and the gears turning in their head as they understood what Guidewheel is all about and the possibilities that has. Again, when we think about the way that I've been talking about making the entire Walmart ecosystem operate better and more efficiently. And so, as we've talked about our sourcing innovation projects, we have a lot of these options, right? Of, do we pilot directly in Walmart? Do we pilot with a supplier? Do we watch it from the side? And so this was an exciting opportunity where a couple of different approaches could apply, but in particular, we were excited to be able to test this solution within Walmart's direct operations. And so it was a great starting point for us to think critically about where could this add the most value for us, to test and understand our efficiency and measure things in a smarter way, so that we can think about, again, it's that scaling opportunity. How do we think about scaling it either directly for us or through our ecosystem? What the opportunities could be. There's a ton of potential, right? It's so geared towards helping people operate more efficiently, which for us, that's the end game. It makes things more efficient. It takes cost out of the system. When we take cost out of the system, we can give it back to our customers in price. And so that's what we're all about.
Oh, yeah, very well said, and just such alignment that, just synergy and potential is so clear. Were there any quick wins or surprises from the pilot?
Yeah, again, this has been the epitome of one of those go slow to go fast mindsets, and making sure that we have all of the steps of diligence. We learned a lot about Walmart's internal protocols, but it's made us prepared to do projects like this in the future, which is really exciting for us. It also really challenged us to think about, like I said, where is the best place for us to test something like this? And so it made us take a sharper eye at our own facilities and where we need to be sharper on how we measure things and how we look at things. So it was a good internal process to think through and do that diligence of where do we pilot this to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And could not ask for better partners in all of that figuring out. Your team has just been incredible. All right, pulling up and looking ahead for a moment before I get to the questions in the threads. You have a really unique perspective across supply chain and sourcing. What's one trend in sourcing or manufacturing that you think most teams are actually underestimating the importance of right now?
Yeah, I feel like I'm surprised that we don't spend more time still talking about truly on-demand production. And it's one of those things that we see coming from the customer demand, or the level of specificity and customization that customers want. I think we need to keep thinking about how we bring production closer to the customer across the board, and be able to do that on demand, right? The future of retail, we really think, is selling less of more. I had to make sure I got that right. And I had more items, less of each individual item. And when you think about what that means for a Walmart business model, right? Like, we need to really challenge some of the assumptions in how we produce things to be able to meet that in the future. And so obviously pushing the envelope in how we broaden our assortment and all of those things. But at some point, we have to think about what is the long-term process to bringing some of that production closer to customers to meet that demand.
Yeah, less of more. I love it.
Yeah.
Last question before I pull from some of the great ones. In 3 to 5 years, what do you think will be the things that the best performing supply chain teams are doing differently than those who aren't?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to agility, right? And it's whether it's in terms of what I was just talking about, the actual manufacturing production, how agile can that be to create customization, or agility in where people locate their production, agility in where they source the inputs from is something that we want people to really be thinking about, and not just using the status quo of how they've always got things. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. And so I think there's going to be a lot of ways that people achieve that, but that's going to be the hallmark of some of the strongest teams.
Yeah. Agility, being able to get closer to the customer, things. Okay, we have lots of great questions. I'm going to start with one from Dan Kramar. What do you see as the biggest roadblock to finding and implementing innovation?
It's a good one. Again, there's too many good things and ideas. And so it's that prioritization process of what is most important. And I would say, I think too, it's when we talk to, especially some of the VC funds or the innovators, some of it are things that we could take back to ourselves in terms of how sharp can we get on articulating the problem that we want to be solved. And so a lot of times there's kind of the vague sense of like, oh, I'd really love this. And so building some of the muscles around whether it's kind of design thinking to really hone in on what is the actual problem to be solved. And I think we get in our own way by not being able to articulate that as clearly, because there are a ton of people willing to go fund great ideas that could solve, but they want to know that they're going to solve a real problem. And so that's the place that I think we can keep improving to get better innovation faster. If we can be faster and sharper in articulating the problems that we want solved.
Yeah, love it. Internally, we think often about the Clay Christensen jobs to be done framework. Yeah. Sometimes we have to push real hard to get to that. I want to ask what tips you have to push hard and get to the true job to be done. That's my own question, though, so I'll go to the questions that are coming in on the thread, but feel free to add anything on the how. We have one from Katie Hajar here. Worried that teams won't want to embrace more tools. How do you get teams to embrace new tools without overwhelming them? And for anyone following me, I'm using the thumbs up to choose which questions. So thumbs up questions you want me to choose.
It's a real problem, Katie. Like the tool fatigue is real. And so as we think about some of the softwares that we've piloted, we are super clear about the ambition of streamlining them into workflows as much as possible. And so again, it's part of that same mindset that we shared of like, you are the vanguard today if you're one of our testers to get something to scale. And so we put that onus on them to like help tell us how we can make this as efficient as possible. And it's a lot of shifting the mindset of like, we have to get out of some of this mindset of going to a dashboard to get insights. Like things should be pushed to people. And so there's a lot of ways that we can make that more seamless today that we have to keep pushing for, but it's about having embedded and valued user feedback early on to tell us how to do that.
Yeah, I was out at a plant yesterday, and the team there had a good way of putting it, which is you have to have the thing that should be done be the easiest thing to do, and integrating it existing workflows is key. Well, fit in one last question. I know we're ending in a minute, and Julie, feel free to tack onto this. Anything else you want to add as well? Lucas Goldman says, so interesting to hear about the different models. How do you know when a pilot is ready to scale?
Yeah, it's a good question. And honestly, we are still learning through that as we hit some of these successful moments. But it's one that, honestly, that was another thing that the Guidewheel project has been a good forcing function for us of sharpening really some of those metrics and decision criteria have been pretty clear on this one. And we're scaling that as we think about other projects. And so it's getting clear up front of what do you hope to achieve? What would success look like? And again, it means that you've brought the right people into the room early who would be the scaling decision makers, right? Because my team usually is not that scaling decision maker. And so we need to make sure that we've got all of the people in the room who will ultimately make that decision and that they've agreed, like, this is what success would look like.
Incredible. Julie, thank you. I feel like we could talk forever. It is such an honor to get to dive into your awesome work, to partner with you and your team. Thank you for making time today and for all the work you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you. We're excited to be here. Always fun to talk about these topics, and love the group that you're cultivating around more efficient manufacturing, US manufacturing. These are all things near and dear to our heart. So thank you, and always glad to be in this community.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.